What's up, and welcome to episode 154 of Throwback Hoops. My name is Rob Clayton, and I'm joined by a man who made his comeback last week after a year off, and also a man rocking these fresh new glasses. What's up, Woody V?
Nice to be here, Robbie. And yeah, it was nice to be back on the basketball court. And mate, I'm in my early 40s. I was telling you for the last year or so, I'm losing my eyesight. So I definitely needed to do something about it. So hopefully you appreciate the new look.
I do. How did the old guy on the team, me myself, go last week in that comeback game?
Ooh, man. What, 8 threes? 7 threes?
I think it was 7, but yeah, 8 sounds better.
5 in the first half, though, right?
It was fun. It was nice having you back there too. But I feel like you're instantly smarter with these glasses. So if I start asking you questions outside of basketball, I expect you probably have all the answers there. But feel like we've got a little bit to chat about today.
Oh, man.
Have a feeling, right? So I think we'll probably get into it. Just before we do that, just a reminder, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. But as always, Woods, let's start off with some jerseys. And as we said, a lot of big things to talk about today.
So I wore a fitting jersey today, man. So I'm just going to stand up.
Woods is standing up, rocking the De'Aaron Fox, number 5, Sacramento Kings jersey. I believe those jerseys are now half price in all the stores now. I think I've seen them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Prices dropping on the De'Aaron Fox Sacramento Kings jerseys. So we did see a big trade with Sacramento trading De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs. Did you want to take the audience through that trade and who went where? And
we won't go through all the draft picks. Essentially, De'Aaron Fox went to the Spurs to join Wemby, so great get for them. The Spurs gave up essentially Zach Collins, Trae Jones, and a draft pick to Chicago, and then Chicago traded my boy Zach LaVine to Sacramento. And also the Bulls also got Kevin Huerter. So essentially, the Bulls get Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, Trae Jones, and a first-round pick. Sacramento got Zach LaVine and a whole heap of draft picks. And the Spurs get De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin, who I don't think is going to be a big piece of the puzzle. But man, how did the Spurs do that, Woods? Everyone thought they'd have to give up, Vassell, Jeremy Sohan, probably not Castle. I think they weren't going to give up him, but they basically gave up a couple of role guys, Zach Collins, who was their worst contract, and turned it into a previous All-Star and a guy averaging 25 points a game in Swiper the Fox.
Yeah, well, let's look at it from the San Antonio perspective first. You mentioned those guys. Keldon Johnson is there, Jeremy Sohan, Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell as well, you mentioned, right? I think so. These are 4 guys that are really quality rotation players in the NBA. I understand Stephon Castle, they've invested in him long term, so they didn't want to part ways with him. But for them to not have to give up any of those other assets was shocking, right? To be fair. And
I've got to say one thing, Woods, for all the talk on De'Aaron Fox, I know we're both big fans of the guy. Obviously, you're rocking his jersey there. Have they made the playoffs like once since he's been with the team? So that's a bit of a worry, isn't it? I know the West is tough and all the rest of it, but he's had some decent teammates with him over the time, so he's never quite taken it to the next level. But he's obviously not had a Wemby with him, right? And that could be one of the dynamic duos to watch out for.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things you can do with Fox and Wemby on the court, right? And hopefully Coach Pop comes back pretty soon and takes over from the Australian fast bowler Mitchell Johnson, who's currently the head coach.
Well, Pop's back in 1985, I think, at the moment. He needs to fire up the DeLorean, get back there, and that'll be good to have him back there. But yeah, really big coup, I think we've got to say, for the Spurs. I could see Castle playing alongside De'Aaron Fox. I like the two guys playing together. We know Castle's a bigger sort of a guard there. And, Chris Paul will now go to the bench, which I think's fine. Don't love the bloke, but I think he's still a decent sort of solid backup there that could play minutes there. I think if you're a Spurs fan, you've got to be absolutely thrilled. What about the other teams? How do you sort of see them? If you're a Bulls fan or a Kings fan, how are you feeling today?
Well, let's start with the Kings, right? It's a bit of a smokescreen because those picks they're getting aren't exactly what they are, right? Because there's a lot of conditions surrounding those picks. So they're not actually going to get a lot of draft equity from those picks.
First round picks that might turn into second round picks.
Things like that. Then you've also got bringing back Zach LaVine. And fair play to Zach LaVine. He's had a fantastic year. He's playing some great basketball, right? But to bring him back to play alongside DeMar DeRozan, we saw that in Chicago over the last few years. It's a bit of a concern. But what I do like about that is Malik Monk is showing some real playmaking ability, something that he didn't show in the early part of his NBA career. So he's just going to shift into that point guard position, and I think it'll be a decent transition there. So it's a bit of a wait and see approach, but I'm just not sure about LaVine and DeRozan playing together. Yeah, and you're
Apparently they
breaking
get
up.
on pretty well. At least that's something there. It's not like they're two guys that play together and don't get along there. But what about the Bulls? So obviously, they've been talking about trading Levine for years now, haven't they? They finally got rid of him, got some draft equity coming back. They actually got one of their own draft picks coming back.
Yeah,
Which
they
is
got their
pretty
own
random.
draft pick back.
And then some bit players. Did you also see who they waived, Woods? Torrey Craig.
Yeah, I saw
So
that.
I thought that was pretty rough. I know we've mentioned him a couple of times on the show recently and featured a card there, so that was tough. Hopefully he'll land somewhere. But we'll put it this way: that's probably the first of quite a few trades. There's another trade I think once we get in the NBA section we'll talk about. Can't think who that one was, but yeah. Anything else to say on Swiper?
I just think Chicago probably could have done a little bit better. Zach LaVine was showcased throughout the first half of the year. They didn't get much in return. Trae Jones and these guys are Trae Jones, Kevin Huerter. They're solid role players, can contribute. But I think it's now time that Buzelis and a few of these young guys in Chicago get some court time, right? And yeah.
Fair call. So will you be getting a new De'Aaron Fox jersey?
Ooh. Yeah.
I'll probably have to get a Levine jersey. I've got a Minnesota Levine. I've got a couple of Bulls Levine, so I'll probably have to get a Sacramento one. But we'll wait this time for that. So,
but Spurs are the winners out of all the three teams.
Agreed.
Spurs are easily the winners here. Yeah.
Well, I thought I'd take it back a little ways today, Woods. You can probably tell by the champion logo, it's going to be an older jersey there. So you can probably guess the team by the colours, I would have thought. But I'll stand up and show you this one. I feel like this is a guy that's been mentioned on this podcast quite a lot of times. So you'll probably see who that is when I stand up.
For those who can't see, Bobby's wearing the Phoenix Suns champion 90s Rex Chapman jersey. And Dana Picana, that's what he calls DNPCD, Rex Chapman.
Is that right? He's certainly a quirky bloke, isn't he, Rex Chapman? And we like that about him, right? But yeah, as I said, thought I'd show a jersey of this guy. So it's a purple Phoenix Suns champion jersey. Yeah, we've spoken about this guy on the show when we had Andrew Gaze on the show. I feel like we've pulled his cards a number of times when we do the classic packs there, Woods. But yeah, I thought I'd speak a little bit on Chapman. So he played 12 seasons in the NBA after getting drafted out of Kentucky by the Hornets, so pick 8 in the 98 NBA draft. Should say I've also got one of his Hornets jerseys somewhere, Woods, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
So the 1988 NBA draft, he went number 2. Who went number 1 in that draft, Woods?
In the 19 what? Sorry, I missed that.
1988.
88, it would have been
one of my favourites.
Give me a sec. I know this. Ah, it's Danny Manning, obviously.
It is Danny Manning, yeah. So good old Danny Manning was number 1 there. So yeah, look, Chapman went on to play with the Hornets, Bullets, Heat, and Suns, and he last played in the 2000 season. So it's interesting, Woods. He didn't have a great deal of accolades, but that didn't mean he wasn't a quality player. And he actually finished his career with a scoring average of 14.6. Which is pretty damn solid. He also appeared in 2 slam dunk comps, so proving that not all white men can't jump. After retiring, Chapman has spoken about a number of issues he had, including gambling and drug addiction and shoplifting. He's actually beaten his addictions after a third stint in rehab, which is really pleasing to hear there. So, yeah, he's now 57. He's involved in Kentucky college broadcasts. He's got his own podcast. He's also got a strong social media following there. So, yeah, a guy that I always liked watching. Loved the way he sort of shot, and he was kind of a cool sort of dude. But yeah, what were your memories on Rex Chapman?
Just a guy that could do a little bit of everything, right? He was an athlete. He could shoot the ball, and having that kind of combination of skills was tough. And he was a white guy who had athleticism and hops, right? And he coming in at that time, there was he was like unique, right? What he brought to the table, and to have that longevity in that career is testament to him. And those scoring averages that you mentioned, to be able to maintain that level of consistency over such a long period of time. I think he would have finished near 2000 sometime.
Yeah, 2000 was his last season. So it was a solid 12-year career. He played with the 4 teams, which is so Hornets, Bullets, Heat, and Suns. There. It's funny. I can't totally picture him with the Heat for some reason. I know obviously I can remember him being there, but I can't totally picture him rocking a Heat jersey there. But yeah, so he played the 4 different.
So he was in a dunk contest and a 3-point shootout. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he was. Yeah, so 2 dunk comps, and he did go in a 3-point comp there. Yep. So yeah, that's pretty
Very
good.
Very few players can do that, right? Brent Barry's one you can think of, right? There's not many, right?
Not a lot that can sort of do both things there. So yeah, a bit of a trip down memory lane. I'm liking this jersey as well, Woods. It's the old Phoenix one. Starting to get a little bit of cracking on. You sort of get on those old Phoenix
all those
jerseys.
Champion ones, man.
Yeah, on the champion jerseys there it happens, but still in pretty good shape there. So enjoyed rocking that one. Well, card of the week, Woods. I'd be lying if I said I spent heaps of time planning who I was going to actually show today. So I said to my daughter when we were having lunch today, I was waiting on a couple of cards to be delivered today. I said to her, whichever card gets delivered, that's this week's card of the week. So it turned out to be a bit of a random one, but it's a guy I think we both like. It's a 2022 select rookie card, which is graded PSA 10 of Charlotte Hornets, Mark Williams.
Love Mark Williams, man.
What a beautiful card. It's called an
Mark
Orange
Williams.
Flash one there. So that's a 10 Woods. As you know, you can't get higher in a PSA grading than 10. So love it when I get a rookie card of that. And you know I'm all about these PSA rookie cards. It's essentially, for people that don't know, it's a grading company that you send the card to, and they'll basically do a full check of that, see that it's legit, check the condition, and then give it a grading. So they're pretty strict. So getting a 10 is pretty hard. But yeah, a guy that we both like for the Hornets. I think he's got a pretty bright future ahead of him. He's maybe got a name that doesn't stand out so much there, but he's got a game that does. So, yeah, quick thoughts on Mark Williams before we move onwards.
Oh, well, he's born to Nigerian parents, right? I know that, and they migrated over here, and obviously had a career at Duke. You know, was really good at Duke.
Yep.
Putting up 11 and 8 from memory, something like that. I was just actually looking at the stats in his in one of his years there. So him and Nick Richards were kind of having that two-headed monster, but now Musa Diabete is going to step up and back him up. And some of the numbers Mark Williams has been putting up lately. Didn't he have a 40-piece recently?
He had it close too, didn't he?
Yeah,
If it wasn't 40, it was very close. A monster sort of number there. So, yeah, they're an interesting team. I know it's a team, it's one of your league pass teams as well. So that's
just quickly, while we're talking about Mark Williams, he is 16 and 10 on 60% from the field. So he's having a very solid year. Yeah.
Pretty solid, isn't it? I mean, if he continues like this, he could easily end up being a top 10 center in the league. So we're talking 30 starting 10 centers. If he gets in the top 10, that's a pretty good effort there. So yeah, as I said, not a lot of thought into it, but a card that I did like. I'm loving that little orange color. Hopefully that's getting picked up there. It's sort of nice and shiny one there. So
wouldn't mind one of his jerseys either.
That'd be a nice one, wouldn't it? Yeah, it'd be a bit different. Wouldn't be a lot of them. It doesn't sort of fit that bill we like of a bit of a rare name, you know what I mean? So you walk around with Williams or Smith or Johnson on the back, it's a bit boring, but hey, it's still a good one. But all right, Woods. Well, as I mentioned, we've got a heap of NBA to talk about, but we've also got a lot of NBL to talk about. So I thought we'd start off with the NBL, given we're probably going to go a little bit long with the NBA today. But yeah, we've basically got one round left. So round 19's in the bag, round 20 is starting tonight. So I should say at the time of recording, Wednesday, the 5th of February. It is starting tonight. But I thought, obviously, Woods, we both attended a game on Sunday, didn't we, between the mighty Perth Wildcats, the greatest franchise in NBL history, taking on the Sydney Kings, and what an amazing, great game it was. I really enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
No, I didn't enjoy it at all. Not at all, man.
What were the reasons for that?
Xavier Cook's not turning up, Jalen Adams forgetting that there was a game on, where do we start, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, full credit to Perth, and saying that, seriously sort of thing. I thought it was a wide victory. They came out really well. They played a game late Friday night and then backed it up with an early Sunday afternoon game with that travel there. So I thought that was a good effort. It was, finally good to see the Wildcats with a full strength team there. Ty Webster made a big impact, double figures,
massive impact, right?
Dylan Winless, some timely rebounds. Doolittle just gets better every game. It was sort of noticeable watching him live. How good is the guy's handles? Like, he's a big guy that can basically be a secondary ball handler. He can back his way into anyone. Cooks looked a little bit lost about against him in that game, but you mentioned, well, firstly, I'll give the Kings some credit. Alex Tui, really impressive. Really like the way he played. And your boy Kawhi Noy, right?
Man, he's just in fuego.
He just bowls into people there. But I want to take the more negative route there. And I want to ask you about three guys, right? So Bull Quall, thought he was really disappointing. He just didn't really seem that interested. Jalen Adams, as you mentioned, he was just, I don't know what was going on with him. A couple of times, I think your mate Brian Gorgian left him out there a bit too long, but he didn't seem interested. He really didn't. I think that's something that is a bit of a theme with him that we see sometimes. And Xavier Cooks is the other one for me. First time I'd seen him live all year. I don't know, maybe I was expecting a bit more after his NBA stint, but he just seems the same player he was, 24 months ago. But give me a little, some comments on those three guys I mentioned for the Kings.
Well, we'll start off with Xavier Cooks, right? He has regressed a little bit. His game hasn't really improved, as you said, and he hasn't had that impact in the second half of this season as he had in the first half of the season. He did impact a lot of games in the first half of this season. He's really fallen off in the back half of the season. And just like Bull Cole, you mentioned, both of them are struggling for a bit of identity on this team. What's my role? What do I do? How do I contribute towards winning? And honestly, like Gorge, he's sort of got it together a little bit towards the back half of the season, but there hasn't been role clarity throughout the year. Like Bull Cole's starting, he's coming off the bench. He basically didn't attempt a 2-point shot for the first 5-6 games. So, Gorgian had him just sitting in the corner. We saw him last year in Cairns when there was a closeout. He would put the ball on the floor, attack the rim. Very athletic. He could dunk in traffic. He could score in a variety of ways. We haven't seen that side of Bull Call in a Sydney Kings uniform. He's basically being utilized as a 3 and D guy, but he's unsure about where his spots are. As far as Jalen Adams is concerned, he's had a very, very good year. Okay,
same. I know you love the bloke,
but there are certain games where he just completely disappears, right, off the face of the earth. But he is having a solid year, but we could do without these games, right? Especially in a big game against Perth, we need our former MVP, both our former MVPs, to step up. And
so 5,002 points for, I think, with Jalen Adams stat line. That's just, that's nuts, isn't it? You played against, Bryce Cotton, in my opinion, the second best NBL player ever, who dropped just a cool, 32, 33, I forget what it was, but he definitely, stood up, and he's so fun to watch, Bryce, isn't he? Some of those shots he does there, but I thought that was pretty fitting. If Adams can't be up for a game against someone like Bryce Cotton, he's never going to be up for someone in a game. So.
So just looking at Adam's stats really quickly for the year, 18 points per game, 6.2 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals while shooting over 40% from the field. So these are very, very solid numbers. It's not like he's not having a decent season, but as I said, you'll have a game where he puts up a donut or two, or almost is non-existent, and we can't afford that, right?
Yeah. And what do you think about Perth? Obviously, moved Pinder back into that starting lineup there. The full strength. Webster was back. I thought Henshaw was pretty impressive, but how did you see that?
I think the big knock on Perth over the last few years is their lack of rebounding, right? Now, we saw them getting on the offensive glass, getting second chance opportunities for themselves, right? Both Pinder, Doolittle, you mentioned, they wanted it more. And you're seeing that glaring hole in the rebounding have been alleviated this year. Bringing Dylan Windler in, right, has really helped, right? And just more of a commitment to getting on the glass with Doolittle and Pinder and these guys. And that's, it's really showing, it's a really good time of year for everyone to come together. Doolittle's come back from his injury. You mentioned Ty Webster come back from his injury. Bryce Cotton is in the form of his life, right?
Yeah.
And you're heading into, maybe we'll just talk about the ladder in a second and where everyone's at. We just got it up in front of us. But this is the perfect time for everyone to be fit and Perth to be firing on all cylinders. So maybe, did you want to just take the audience who can't see through the ladder?
It's interesting, isn't it? So it looks like the top 6 is basically settled there. And for people wondering why, okay, Tassie and the Bullets are only 1 game behind Adelaide. You look at that points difference there. So that's the glaring thing there, right? So, the Bullets are minus 148, Jack Jumpers minus 125. So it's one of those things that mathematically would be possible. We'll be talking some massive wins or losses this week. So obviously the top 6 is settled. It's just a matter of that top 5 and the placings there. Illawarra do play tonight against New Zealand. I think they wrap up first place if they win that. What amazed me is Perth could finish as high as first or fifth, I believe. Obviously, it's not going to happen with first. There's going to be some crazy results that would need to happen there, just ridiculous results. That's probably not worth talking about. But some big games coming up, though, Wood. So, that's the ladder there. Very even, isn't it, after 27 or 28 games played. Obviously, they are playing the 1 extra game this year. It was a 28-game season last year, 29 this season. But look at that, though. From Illawarra and Melbourne on 18, Perth 17, Southeast Melbourne and Sydney both 16. So 2 wins basically separating first and fifth, which is really good. Obviously, the Breakers and the Taipans have been disappointing, and they're sort of bringing up the rear. But a very even season, The play-in, does have some detractors there, but I think it has made it fairly interesting. It would have been good if one of those Jackies or Bullets would have been a real chance going into this round. Just would have given a bit more interest there. But that's the ladder. Why don't you maybe put up the games for this week? Pretty small round, isn't it? There's only 6 games, as we mentioned, Illawarra, New Zealand tonight. So maybe talk us through those, and we can give some quick predictions to round out the regular season.
All right, maybe we'll give our predictions, and then we'll go back to the ladder quickly and see what it looks like. Right? New Zealand versus Illawarra. Who you got?
I think Illawarra comfortably in this one.
Yep, I agree. Cairns versus Brisbane, the Sunshine Stoush.
Yeah, Sunshine Stoush. Look, Brisbane to win that one. I want to ask you quickly, Woods, because the first 2 teams we've talked about have both let imports go in the law firm and your boy Rob from Cairns there. What's your thoughts on that? I don't really like it, to be honest. You sign a contract with a team, they're not going to improve their standings on that, but surely you can stay for the last round, can't you? What's up with that?
And also, I think that at the end of season, each team would have some sort of social event to, see out the season, a dinner or something like that. It'd be nice. Yeah. I'm cool with the guy staying with the ball club and not playing. I guess in Rob Edwards' situation, he had another job and he asked the club to be.
I think that's the same with Parker Jackson Cartwright. Yeah. So another job, but really, like the season's still going. But anyway, we've seen it happen with it before with a few of these teams down the bottom. I'm not a big fan of it though.
Yep. I agree. Okay, so let's move on. Illawarra versus Sydney,
Big
right?
Friday night of games here, right? So, well, look, Sydney have struggled against Illawarra recently, haven't they? Illawarra's kind of got that little bit of a wood over them there. It would not shock me with all that talent on that Sydney team to see them go in. You wonder if Illawarra wrap up that first spot
Yeah,
today.
for
Will
sure.
they potentially play,
No,
some gangrene?
no way.
Possibly play. You don't think so? It's
No, I
too
mean,
important a game.
I'm saying no way
Okay.
they're going to play some of their bigger
Yeah.
guys. If they lock
Yeah.
up the first place tonight, they won't risk an injury in that
No,
game.
100%.
So Tyler
They might say
Harvey,
Trae Kell, take the day off. Tyler Harvey, play the first half, stuff like that. And obviously, Kings have got a bit more to play for. It could be one of those situations that the Kings go down there and get a massive season-defining win, but they still don't move up on the ladder. That's how sort of tight this ladder is there. But who do you see?
I see the Kings taking that one out simply because of what I said. The Illawarra Hawks will win quite easily tonight against New Zealand. They'll rest a few of their guys, will play them in limited minutes, and Sydney Kings will have a point to prove. And
hopefully,
and they'll
Jalen
get that
Adams
W.
remembers to turn up for this game, but I'm still going to say the Hawks to win this one.
Got it. Okay. Perth and Adelaide.
Perth feels like they control their destiny, don't they? If they win this, they're going to wrap up third spot and, get that home playing game there and a higher seeding there. So Adelaide, you don't know what you're going to get to. They're one of those teams that on their day, they scare the heck out of you, right? They've got as good a trio on that team as anyone. Not sure if Jarrell Martin's going to be playing, but look, Perth have got to win that one. They can't drop that one at home there. So
Jarrell Martin's only back if they make the play-in, from what I hear.
Interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Perth Wildcats should win that, but would not surprise me to see Adelaide win as well.
Like if they get hot, right, they could certainly do it. Yeah.
Tassie and Cairns is a completely insignificant game. Whatever.
This might be one where I watch like Love Island or some The Block or something like that instead of watching that one. Woods, I can't stand the thought of watching that game.
Yeah, whatever. Whoever wins doesn't really matter. Okay.
This last one's big though, isn't it?
This is a massive game and it's going to actually dictate a lot of things. And I think Melbourne United still with the chance to potentially come lock up first in this game.
Yeah.
Would potentially
again, that's counting on New Zealand probably beating the Hawks tonight, but I think that they obviously need this to rack up that second spot. Well, it'd be interesting to see the ramifications if Southeast can win that Perth win, just to see if Perth could move up. Again, it's going to come down to percentages. This is why you take those shots at the end of games, Woods, what I've been saying to you for years. There's no gentleman's agreement. You get a shot up, you try and keep the scoreboard ticking over. There's none of this American stuff we do in our game here. But I kind of like Southeast Melbourne for this game, actually.
Don't say that. Don't say that. That's terrible for us.
Mate, I'm impressed with that team. They've been a team they're probably for me the surprise team of the year.
Look,
I thought Southeast Melbourne Phoenix.
When Kelly got cut, Angus Glover was a shadow of his former self, and everyone was saying the season's done. Coach King is coming in. He can start building a culture here and prepare for the training camp for next year. Never in our wildest dreams would we think they could finish the season potentially as a third seed.
Shout out to Nathan Sobey. Honestly, being critical and he does complain a lot of the refs. He feels like he's cut a lot of that out of his game. Still a bit of it there, but he's had an amazing season. He's definitely a chance of all NBL.
Well, that goes out to Coach King, who's really been able to get the best out of him, and he's way less erratic, making better decisions, and that comes down to the practice court where these reps are getting into him, and he's being coached well to make better decisions on the floor. Right?
Hey, wouldn't Geordie Hunter look good in a Kings jersey soon? I bet you are still. I bet you're wishing he was still there.
Yeah, man. We off season. One of the glaring holes we have is getting a proper big man there, or a rim protector. Okay, so let's just quickly go back and have a look at what it will potentially look like. So you're saying that the Hawks will win 1 out of 2 potentially, right?
I think they'll win both. So I think they're going to wrap up first spot. Look, I mean, you can see the points difference there between Melbourne and Perth there. So I still think Melbourne could lose that, Perth could win, and Melbourne could still hang on to second, and that's. So, look, in all honesty, I don't think that probably top 6 will change. It may, I may be completely wrong there, but I could see, no movement there, just given some of the points differences are quite a way off there. So that would basically mean that the Kings would be hosting Adelaide, right? And,
that's right.
Playing in a couple of weeks, and Perth would be hosting Southeast. So that's a danger one, isn't it? You wouldn't want to go out at that stage like you did last year.
I'd probably see the Kings beating Illawarra and Melbourne beating SEM and us finishing 4th and SEM finishing 5th. But that's also
so you're saying it could be a Perth City playing. That would be big, wouldn't it?
Yep, 3 versus 4 with the second chance. Yeah. But
we're looking forward to it. And we should say as well, there's a week off, right? So there's a FIBA break next week. I know there's the Gazies and everything next week. There's a FIBA break next weekend. So no games, and we had the play-in. So for the teams that do finish 1-2, they're going to get quite a good break. So again, rest versus rust. We've discussed it on the show before. Not sure which way it is to go. But if you've got so many niggling injuries, it's really good opportunity to get some of you guys healthy.
Yep.
Nice. All right, Woods, we teased it at the start of the show. We've got some NBA to talk about, right? So We are now less than 2 days away from the NBA trade deadline. And on Sunday, we saw one of the most shocking trades in NBA history. Of course, I'm talking about the trade that sent Patty Mills to the Clippers for Oh, no, sorry, it's not that trade. Of course, I'm talking about the massive Lakers and Dallas trade, right? I think it's going to be one of those where were you moments in the future. So I was only kidding there, Woods. It wasn't Patty Mills. I was making a bit of fun of that trade there. But we were at that Kings Wildcats game when the news came through. I mentioned to you, I saw a teenage kid wearing a Luka Dallas jersey that was basically crying, inconsolable from his parents there. I just found out the news. So I know we're both still stunned. What is it, 3 days since this happened? We're Wednesday. The trade happened on Sunday our time. I'm not quite sure where to begin. For those that haven't kind of seen the trade, essentially Dallas traded 25-year-old Luka Doncic to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. The Mavs also got, Mavs also got Max Christie in a 2029 first rounder. So just one first rounder in that trade. The Lakers also got Maxi Kleber and one of the Morris twins there. There was a third team involved in Utah, but not really worth mentioning that. Before I ask for your thoughts, Woods, I know ESPN website grades these trades. They gave Lakers an A and Dallas an F, which is a bit of an ouch on that one there. But I don't know where to start, but give me your thoughts. How are you feeling about this trade 3 days on?
A couple of things before I give you my thoughts, right? That's the big narrative that's come out the last 3 days from everyone. Where were you when you found out about this? And what did you think, right? So, the game was just finishing up, the Sydney Kings Perth game we just spoke about, and I was waiting for your mom and dad and yourself to come and find me in the car park so you could give me a lift home. And I get a text from Phil Smeets, a really good friend of mine, a big fan of the show. Shout out to Phil Smeets from Perth. He's a massive Wildcats fan and a Dallas fan. And he sent me the Sham Charania Twitter or X post. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's bullshit. There's no way that is true. Like everyone did, right?
Yeah.
And obviously we found out it was true, which is still shocking 72 hours later, as you said. But one more thing I want to ask you. Who won the draft night trade all those years ago? Atlanta or Dallas?
Well, it's funny. I was looking at that lottery there. So Triple J for Memphis is still on that team, and obviously Trae's still with the Hawks there. But it's amazing, and they're the only two in that top 10 that haven't changed teams now. It's an interesting one, isn't it? We better not sort of get too smug.
No. But
the Hawks trade Trae, but just shocking, isn't it? Like it's crazy. The big one for me, was. We never see one of these trades come through without a lot of rumors, right? We've seen superstar trades over the years.
Let me stop you for 1 second, right? You told me, Woody, what are your thoughts? And you said, where do I start? What do we talk about? So anyway, I wrote a little passage that I wanted to read to you. So can I please read it?
I told you those glasses are making you smarter.
Okay, and this basically sums it up. So absolutely no one saw this trade coming, as we discussed. Basically, what has happened here is the most storied franchise in the NBA has landed itself another generational superstar in acquiring Luka Doncic as part of this shock 3-team trade that you mentioned. Now, he's not the first. You start with Will Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaq, Paul Gasol, and LeBron, right? So it's LA is definitely a desirable location for free agents to go. But it somehow just landed in the Lakers' lap with no previous inkling or even suggestions that Luka would be available. Yet, according to reports, the Lakers were the only team Dallas contacted to engage in serious discussions regarding a deal for their once-in-a-generation star. I ask you, how and why did this happen, Robbie? And some 72 hours since the trade went down, and it still makes absolutely no logical sense to me. The underwhelming return, it's not a knock on Anthony Davis. He's still like a top 15 player in the NBA in his own right. But rather than outright absurdity and perhaps stupidity of trading a top 5 player entering his prime in Luka Doncic, even without even putting him on the market, plus the idea that Dallas traded Doncic due to concerns around his conditioning in exchange for a player 6 years older with a long history of injuries himself.
Hasn't played over 70 games for years.
Beggars belief. All right, so that's it.
Hey, Woods, would you sell your house with just speaking to one buyer, or would you put it on the market and get a whole lot of buyers and getting offers and stuff in? It just seems really bad business by Dallas. I'm not sure what they're doing there, right? Look, they obviously had their reasons for trading Luka, right? They didn't want to sign him to a supermax. There's been massive concerns over his conditioning. Apparently, his playing weight's been so bad. They reckon that's caused these calf injuries he's had. They made the finals last year. He had a couple of disappointing games. His defense was horrendous. We spoke about that last year, right? They still made it to the finals, but I don't know what Dallas are doing. Why would you not get the rumors out there and see what sort of package you can get in return? I think we both remember the Mikal Bridges trade, Brooklyn and New York, right? Brooklyn gained 5 first-round draft picks for the Knicks to get him, right? 5. Dallas got 1. So, I mean, I was almost racking my brain the other day thinking of what sort of other packages you could have got. I mean, they could have gone to Houston with all those young players they got there. They could have gone to a team with OKC and got, an established player there and a whole heap of draft picks. They could have gone a number of ways there, but instead they went with the Lakers, a Western Division, rival, I would have thought there, and basically got the first offer that came out there. So it's just mind-blowing, isn't it, that there wasn't more involved in that trade. I know you've got to make salaries match and these sort of things, but, Mark Cuban wouldn't have done this, right? And
No.
I've heard people say, what's Mark Cuban doing? Mark Cuban's not the owner. Mark Cuban didn't have a say on this. And he even said last week, I forget, what was the comment? He said, there was some funny comment that he traded his wife before he traded Luka, something like along those lines there. So I think it's the new guy almost trying to come in and put a stamp on the team. Obviously, they're really unhappy, and maybe they've seen stuff behind closed doors that we haven't seen, Woods, and that's a hard one to comment on there. We know Luka comes in out of shape. We know these things there, but he continues to play well. He seems to play his way into shape every season. He's in my opinion, I'd say he'd be the 4th best player in the NBA. I'd have the Joker, the Freak, and SGA, and then I'd have him at number 4 there. Anthony Davis is probably number 8 or 9. So there's not a lot of difference there. But as you mentioned, 6 years older, injury history, one of those sort of guys like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we're probably coming to the end of we're in a phase where player empowerment is huge. Like, they can dictate what they do, what they want to do, right? And it's been like that over the last 4 or 5 years. But maybe we're entering a phase now where that's changing a little bit, right?
Maybe,
because
right?
if Luka knows he's on the block, or and him and his agents can then shop out there and make it more difficult for the franchise, right? So and LeBron wasn't even in the know-how about this, right?
Do you believe that?
Yeah, I totally believe that, man.
I do believe
like even looking at his interview today after the game, he's dumbfounded, man. He still can't believe it, right? And I'll tell you something, right, which is really funny. These two, right, and it's Nico Harrison. That's Nico Harrison.
Him and Rob Lowe, Rob Pelinka, apparently went out for a drink after a game last week, and that's when I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall.
It was about 3 weeks ago, actually. They went for drinks, and they've been great friends for 20 plus years, right? Since their days with Nike, with Kobe, and whatnot. So they just hatched this plan together, right? And it's crazy, man, right?
Crazy, Woods, but I want to throw something at you. Is it crazy to think that Dallas might not be a chance to win the championship this year? I honestly believe they could. If AD's healthy, you've got a motivated Kyrie Irving, you've got that 3-headed monster with Lively hopefully coming out from injury, Daniel Gafford, AD playing his preferred 4 spot. You've got some decent players.
I'm not going to argue with you there.
PJ Washington, imagine they came and won. He's going to look like an absolute genius, this Nico Harrison bloke. But
very
obviously,
unlikely.
You can't probably judge it after 1 year. But I'm saying that I could see them coming up against an OKC or a Denver and just overpowering him with some of that size and defense.
I'll tell you what's the funniest shit out of all of this, right? Rob Pelinka calls up Danny Ainge. He goes, "Hey, Danny, man, we're going to give you Jalen Hood, Schifino, and a draft pick. Don't ask about anything else. You just get it for free. I just need you to make this trade work, right?"
Yeah.
Then about 30 minutes before the trade, it gets called into the NBA office. Danny Ainge finds out he's sending possibly the best player in the world to his arch nemesis, the Lakers, and it was too late for him to pull out of it.
Crazy. What about the Lakers fit there, Woods? Because I've heard a few people say, well, look, Luka and LeBron, they're kind of similar players, right? They need the ball in their hands. Both not, LeBron's obviously, older than you, so we can understand his defense has dropped off. Luka's not known for his defense there, but they've given up, a really strong defensive player in AD and got Luka back. I'm not sure that those other 2 players in, a Morris twin and Maxi Kleber, who's injured as well, I believe, are going to contribute there. But how do you like that fit? Suddenly their defense seems pretty ordinary, the Lakers.
Initially, I was talking to you in the car on the way home from the Kings game. I said, this is weird. They're very similar players, right? But then you talk about LeBron being older than me or my age, and this is going to extend his career. I think he'll want to play for a couple more years now, knowing he gets the opportunity to play with Luka at the end of his career. And what that'll allow him to do is play off the ball a little bit more and extend him, because he's doing all the heavy lifting, pretty much playing point guard for the Lakers now. So after thinking about it and breaking it down a little bit further, I do think that this year is probably going to be a bit of trial and error for the Lakers, But in the offseason, they can retool, bring some nice pieces around these guys. some shooting. Guys are going to get the ball and get open shots playing with
Yeah.
LeBron and Luka and a big man in the middle. Then
We
next
talk
year.
about that defense as well. We've got to forget Luka's an absolute, beast of a man there. So there's going to be some opposing guards in the West. Look at they're playing against the Spurs and Spurs and De'Aaron Fox trying to match up against Luka. He creates matchup problems there, and LeBron can probably play 4 positions. I wonder if the Lakers are done, Woods. I don't know what else they've got left, but I keep thinking how perfect Clint Capella would be for this
for
team.
sure.
So I keep thinking that. I wonder if they try and make a call on him. So I don't know what they've got left. They've obviously got a good contract in Austin Reeves that they won't be trading, I believe. But shocking, right? It's got to be one of the biggest trades ever. I was sort of looking back at some of the other ones. There's, the Shaq trade from between LA and Miami. There's the Charles Barkley trade back in the day. None of them sort of came out of left field like this and involved, a player at the absolute peak of his career, right? So shocking, still absolutely shocking. 2 days left though in this deadline, right, Wood? So as I mentioned, and I joked at the start, sort of thing. We saw our boy Patty Mills get traded from Utah to the Clippers. Patty Mills probably not a big part of that, but Devin Eubanks, I think that's a pretty decent player to get back. They gave up Mo Bamba and the ghost of PJ Tucker in that trade there. So Devin Eubanks, I think, will be a solid backup for Zoo there. So I actually like that trade for the Clippers.
For sure. And actually, they waived Mo Bamba today, actually, the Jazz.
Yeah, he's gone already, right? Yeah. So, and look, there's still some, we still don't know where Butler's going to go, where Beal's going to go, where Nurkic is going to go. I heard a little sneaky rumor today that the Hawks and the Pelicans are talking again. It could involve maybe Bogdan Bogdanovic and another piece there to try and get Brandon Ingram. Interesting one, right? Brandon Ingram also has, not played a game for 9 weeks due to a sprained ankle. So, I think he needs to maybe harden up a little bit there. But, so that's kind of where we're at. So, a couple of days left. We'll certainly, update this more a bit next week.
Just quickly on that, I just want to double click what you said about Drew Eubanks, right? Yeah. Zoo's playing heavy minutes, and they badly need some backup minutes to play center behind Zoo. So actually, it's a sneaky, really good acquisition. Eubanks has been playing well lately. And Patty Mills, veteran, he comes back to play alongside Nick Batum. He gets to play alongside Kawhi Leonard, and he gets to play alongside James Harden. Right? 3 guys that are very good friends with him. So he's going to be a great locker room guy. It was nice to see him get some minutes at the end of the game today. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And big win for the Lakers against the Clippers today too, wasn't it, in that crosstown game there. So, look, I've been refreshing my phone for a lot. I think I woke up last night, 3:30 in the morning. As you're getting a bit older, you go to the bathroom in the night, Woods. Went to the bathroom, like, I better just check my phone. There was some random second-round pick swap between, OKC and someone else, which didn't really move the radar. But I'll certainly be doing that the next couple of days. I expect there'll be some more things that trickle in there. Jimmy Butler, though, let's just finish, before we move on to some other NBA stuff. Jimmy Butler, is he definitely getting traded? Am Miami going to be just the most pig-headed team and not get rid of the guy?
I honestly think that, not many people will want him in their locker room, right? Yeah. And it's difficult.
And he only wants to go to Phoenix.
Yeah, and I think, we've seen what Pat Riley's like. He does not let LeBron dictate terms. He is not letting Jimmy Butler dictate terms.
But he's so stubborn that he'd maybe just keep him rotting on the bench. Maybe he is, right?
Yep, send him home, literally. Like Stephon Marbury that year with the Knicks, remember?
Yeah, I think I mentioned on the show a few weeks ago, Pat Riley and my wife are 2 of the most stubborn people I've ever known. So, maybe you're right. Maybe he won't go. There's been various talks of Beal going. We know he's going to waive that no-trade clause. But
he's been playing well off the bench lately, actually.
Beal. He has, It could be some more role players we see. Maybe some of these Washington guys, the Valanciunas, the Kyle Kuzma, someone like Bogey from the Hawks, someone like Nurkic for Phoenix. There could be some of these role players that maybe a team tries to strengthen.
Bogdanovic in Brooklyn. He's sitting on the end of the bench, injured.
The other forgotten about Bojan Bogdanovic. Yeah. So that's crazy to think there. Hopefully the Hawks don't do anything crazy. I always get a little bit worried this time of year what they might do. If they could trade, what if they traded Bogey? If they traded Bogey and Clint Capella for Brandon Ingram, are you happy with that or not?
Yeah, I'm happy with it, but
Ingram's the best player of the three.
The problem is a glaring hole at backup center for us, right?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Dominic Barlow. I'm taking it.
I'm like, who's D Barlow? Right, I've seen him
Dominic Barlow.
I've seen him on the box score. But
but we have had that 2-headed monster. Maybe it's time to try and shift those pieces and get someone like that. But again, we're hearing all these same sort of players. So recommend everyone keep refreshing the whatever site you're using to find this information, X or whatever else is like that, and stay tuned. This is going to lead our NBA talk this week, Woods, and that's some All-Star stuff. But obviously, just that little trade there between Dallas and the Lakers we had to put first. But Friday last week, we saw the All-Star reserves name, right? Each year we pick our reserves and we see how different we are. So Woods has found the nice little graphic there.
Eastern Conference.
That's the East one there.
So I'll just quickly read it. Do you want to read it out to the audience who can't see?
Yep, you sound smarter than me today.
The Eastern Conference reserves, Celtics guard Jaylen Brown, Pacers forward Pascal Siakam, Cavaliers guard Darius Garland, Pistons guard Cade Cunningham. They say front court player actually from the Cavs, forward from the Cavs Evan Mobley, guard from the Bucks Damian Lillard, and guard from the Heat Tyler Hero.
All right, can I take the floor here, Woods?
Take the floor.
I'm disgusted by this team. Disgusted. An absolute joke. Yes, I'm a massive Hawks homer. We all get it. Trae Young should be on this team, right? It just baffles me. I said to you earlier this year, I think he's having one of his better years. There's been a lot of shock from NBA, legends, other people like that. Even Charles Barkley came out and said he was surprised about the Trae Young thing. He's shocked. He said he's playing probably his best ever year this year. That was coming from Charles Barkley there. Look, I don't like Tyler Hero and Dame Lillard making. I'm just going to say it right now. Dame Lillard, there's no way he's had a better season than Trae Young. If that's some sort of lifetime achievement thing, he's had a decent year, Dame. Don't get me wrong. They're not bad stats there, but Trae's been, had a better season there, and he's got a lot less to work with. Obviously, he doesn't have a guy like the Greek Freak and these sort of guys around him. So that's the big one for me. I would have had Trae over Dame Lillard. Tyler Hero, get out of town. He's had a decent year, but he doesn't deserve to make it for me either. I would have had Tyrese Maxey in that role. I think he's got a little bit slept on from the start of the Philadelphia season. And the one other one I had different from that, Woods, feels like these selectors, they like to have someone from each team sort of thing. I wouldn't have had Pascal Siakam on this one. So for me in that last spot there, I would have had Jarrett Allen. So I would have gone the 4 Cavs on that team. We've seen it happen with teams that have gone well before, but I would have been happy if they had, Garland, Spider Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. So essentially before you get into yours, 3 changes I would have had from that. So I would have had Trae, Jarrett Allen, and Tyrese Maxey. And I would have said bye-bye to Dame Lillard, Tyler Hero, Pascal Siakam. What you got? Are you as disgusted as me? Or are you okay?
Look, I'm disgusted about Trae not making it, but I've actually only got the one change. I'm actually been very high on Tyler Hero this season. I've watched a lot of Heat games, probably because I've got a lot of fantasy players in the Heat, right? And I've really enjoyed what he's brought to the table. Trae for Damian Lillard, no doubt, right? 22.7 points per game, 11.4 assists. He's leading the team beautifully, making great decisions on the court. And up till the injury to Jalen Johnson, the Hawks are on an upward trajectory. So I see no reason why he shouldn't be there ahead of Damian Lillard. The other two, Tyrese Maxey and LaMelo Ball, were the ones that I considered, right? LaMelo Ball, 28 points a game, 7 assists, 1.4 steals. Obviously injured, missing some games, playing on a poor team. Left him there. But Tyler Hero has been more efficient than any of the guards mentioned. His efficiency and his true shooting percentage is right up there. So I'd keep Tyler Hero. I just replace
You're happy
Trae
with
Young.
Siakam making it as well?
I'm happy with Siakam. He's going to give you 27-4, but that's what he does. That's what Pascal Siakam does.
Why is there such a big focus, Woods, on rewarding players from good teams in this All-Star format? I can see it in all NBA teams. I understand that. This is an All-Star game, right? So this is made for guys like Trae Young, guys like LaMelo Ball there. So yeah, interesting. Big shout out to Cade Cunningham. I'm a fan of that guy. I think you are as well. Thoroughly deserved.
No one deserves it more, man. Right?
Exactly right. Yeah. Absolutely deserves it. He's a beast. Look at his stats there. He's averaging nearly 10 assists a game.
Watch his turnovers a bit. That's what he needs to do a little bit. But apart from that, he's having a hell of a season. His team's doing great. Very deserving. Dari, all those, all the Cleveland guys, fine. Yeah, cool.
I'm going to give you a little clue with the Westwoods. I'm also disgusted in that one, so why don't you put that one up as well?
Right. Okay, well, I actually got a little, before you go into it, I got a little passage which I wrote about the West as well, all right? So let me just move over, and I'm just going to read something to you, all right? Give me 1 sec. Let me...
Again, this is your glasses. You're coming out with these things, Woods. This is like a new man.
I thought
Who is this guy?
Okay, so maybe do you want to read out the West reserves to the audience?
Yeah, so we've got Anthony Edwards, James Harden, Alperen Şengün, some guy named Wemby, Anthony Davis, New Dallas Maverick, Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Jalen Williams making his debut.
Okay, so I've got this little tidbit for you, man, and I want you to hear this, right? I think it's absolutely ridiculous that your boy Domantas Sabonis didn't make this team, right? And it's a shame on the coaches for not rewarding him because he leads the league, right, with 42 double-doubles, and he's while registering near top on almost every advanced metric, right? He's averaging 21 points per game on 61% shooting and leads the league at just under 15 rebounds per night. How rare is that particular combination of statistical marks, you ask, Robbie? The only other player to ever achieve them in a single season is Wilt Chamberlain. That's right.
I've heard of that guy, yeah.
A player who's having the season only matched by Wilt Chamberlain isn't an all-star.
That's nuts. Well said. Good research. To me, yeah, that's even more damning than Trae not making it. I'm shocked that Domas Sabonis didn't make it. He didn't make it last year as well, and I thought that was pretty poor. But you've got to find a spot for him there. So very disappointing. Why don't you go first? Did you have any more than one different selection for your team this time?
Yes, I did. So I had Domantas Sabonis, I had Kyrie Irving, and I had Norm Powell all in there. Right?
Powell. So who did you have
Powell. So I had Jalen Williams, James Harden, and Sengun out. And I'm sorry, Sengun, he's had a great year, but I thought if there's one Laker that should make it, it's either Zoo or Norm Powell. So they went with James Harden in the backcourt. So let's go with Norm Powell, right?
But again, this comes down to, well, Houston's having a good year. We've got to get a player in. I just don't believe that should be the case in an all-star format. I don't know why they do it.
Well, to be fair, it's not like Sacramento is having a terrible year up till now. What are they, 26 and 25 or something like that, right? Like, so... and then Jalen Williams, J-Dub's really fallen away a little bit of late. So I would probably have, who's the third one that I mentioned there? Kyrie Irving there.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I had three different ones there. Obviously Sabonis, that was just an easy one there. I would have actually had Sabonis over Triple J there, Wood. So I know he's had a good year.
Had a great year, Triple J.
I think Sabonis has easily had the better year out of the two, so I would have had him. I should say it felt like in the East there was a lot more guards, and in the West there was less guards with a lot more bigs, right? So
Robbie, just quickly, Jaren Jackson had 38, 37 points yesterday. His offensive game's really gone. I know you would have had him out of this lineup, right? And that's fair enough. But his offensive game has really gone to the next level, hasn't it?
He's not much of a player. He's massively improved, right? I agree. He's not far off. I just would have had Sabonis over him. I would have also had Zubats over Sengun.
Love it.
I would have had him there. I think he's he was probably close there. I actually think they wanted to have a Clipper in there, and for me, I wouldn't have had Harden. I would have had Zubats instead of Harden. This is the guy I can't believe everyone's forgetting about, Woods. Devin Booker. How did that guy not make it? I think in January he had 8 games where he scored 32 points or more. 8 games, Woods. And then yesterday he basically had another 30-point game and became the Phoenix Suns' all-time leading scorer. So I think he's been forgotten a little bit about Devin Booker.
Sure.
I would have had him over Harden. I think he's had a better season there. So again, Booker over Harden. I would have had Sabonis over Jaren Jackson. And I would have had Zubats over Sengun.
So 15 and 12 for Ivica, he's one of my favorite players, right?
Yeah.
And you look at Sengun on probably a similar team putting up, what are the stats up there? He's putting up 19 and 10. So it's comparable, right?
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah, so Booker was the one for me. I'm not hearing a lot of people talking about that. I was surprised he didn't make it there, but I know Phoenix have been a little bit disappointing and maybe he didn't start as well as normal, but he's certainly picked it up now. So interesting. It's one of those things, Woods. I think we get far too excited, disappointed, all these words for what's essentially not going to be a very fun game to watch. But for me, it's all about legacy, resumes, and things like that. And for someone like Trae and Sabonis, arguably they're probably two of my top favourite guys in the league. But I think they're both really hard done by not making the team.
Robbie,
and this could be the thing that costs these guys money in the future. Right?
Only Wilt the Stilt has done what Sabonis is doing now, right?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
to think that he's not an all-star.
I wonder what he thinks about it, because he seems like a pretty humble guy there. We know Trae's disappointed. He had a few comments coming out, that he obviously wasn't that happy, and he's had some great games. He basically beat Detroit on his own back yesterday.
I'll tell you who won't be
happy.
happy.
Has been quiet though.
His wife.
Yeah.
All right.
True. She gets a bit more time with him over that all-star break. So, all right, Woods, appreciate that. Look, we've done that every season now. It's always interesting to see how we compare there. I think for most parts they got it right there. But again, for me, I'd like to see not rewarding players on good teams because it is an all-star game, and maybe showing some respect to the leading rebounder in the league and the leading assist guy yet again. So, all right, let's quickly finish off some NBA because I know we're going a little bit long here, Woods. And I'm thinking as well, maybe we might even have to give Classic Packs
we'll give it a miss today.
We'll give it a miss.
We'll bring it back next week.
Last NBA talk, I wanted to have a little bit of a somber, quick Hawks talk here, right? So, honestly, the season's going downhill fast, Woods. After the best stretch of the season for the Hawks, they finally ended an 8-game losing streak yesterday against Detroit on the back of Trae. We saw the news last week that rising star Jalen Johnson is out for the year. So I want to ask you, my friend, is the play-in still a chance for the Hawks? And how concerning is this recent play, given that we don't have a first-rounder in next year's draft, or this year's draft, I should say?
Well, I told you earlier in the year, this is now, I feel, a bit of Jalen's team, not Trae's team. I know you didn't completely agree with that sentiment, but you were feeling me a little bit,
no one loves
right?
JJ more than me.
Yeah.
Been talking to the guy for 3 years now.
And you have, man. And then I said to you recently, like, we need him on the floor to win games. He's such a connector, you know? And when we lost him for the season, I knew it spelled problems then. And it's not like our other guys are fully healthy either. Guys coming in and out of the lineup all the time.
Trae's been like questionable throughout the last 8 games, hasn't he?
So I think that something like bringing Brandon Ingram over at the trade deadline would give us a shot in the arm. But if we can't do that, then it's maybe a case of, you know, not trying to tank, but doing our best. But I think that the play-in might be a stretch without Jalen, man.
But for what, though? You've got no draft pick. So tanking is it's not the year to tank. We don't have our draft pick there. So we've given that up. So
there you go.
the Spurs. So
that's true.
I think they've just got to keep fighting. You know, they've still got some quality on that team. Daniels has been great. Hunter's had, you know, probably a career year for him. Onyeka's looked decent. So there's still some parts there.
That's DeJounte Murray's the pick, right? For DeJounte Murray.
Yeah.
Still outstanding.
All right. So that's it. That's why we make the play-in and we don't give that a high pick there. We end up, you know, sort of finishing the season off well. So anyway, watch this space. A bit disappointing to lose 8 games in a row. That was pretty hard to take. But, you know, they're back on track after that win against Detroit, and we'll see how they go there. So, all right, well, Woods, that was a lot of NBA to talk about.
Loved it, man. So much fun.
What would be annoying, right, if we literally hit the end button of the recording tonight and then some other crazy trade drop? So please don't do that, NBA. We've just, you know, spent a lot of time recording today. But I want to do a quick true-false, Woods. This one we like to sort of finish off with this. So got a bit of NBL and a bit of NBA, a bit of a mix there. So let me throw these at you. So the first one. The Tasmania Jack Jumpers will make wholesale changes in the off-season with only a handful of players returning.
I would say false. They've got a nucleus there. Like, you know, they'll probably keep Drimmick. They'll keep Magne and Majok Deng and a few of the Australian talent. But I think they need to look at moving on from, say, a Jordan Crawford. And obviously they really didn't strike well with that third import this year with Craig Sword and Hummer. Yep. Milton Doyle, I think he's on contract for 1 year. He's not. I would look at parting ways with all the imports.
It's a true for me. I think all 3 imports potential go. Maybe Doyle comes back. He's the only one that you would consider there. Has been a bit down, but
you keep the Australian nucleus together. Some of those guys, right?
I think you've just got to strengthen this team now. You know, are you really moving far with, you know, guys like Drimich or, you know, even guys like, you know, Ruben Tarangi or these guys. Definitely Majok Deng. He's a must bring back.
I'd keep 5. I'd keep Magne. I'd keep Deng. I'd keep Sean McDonald.
Yeah. Magne and McDonald, you need to keep these guys healthy, don't you?
I would keep Drimmick.
Yeah.
And one more. I can't
bring Stoddart back. He's looked all right.
So. Yeah.
All right, nice. Well, topic number 2. The MVP race between Cotton and Davis is much closer than people think.
False. It's an absolute basket case of an organization, Adelaide, right?
Yeah.
The MVP is not like an all-star selection. It's the most valuable player to their team, okay? Where you can put a guy in an all-star game because he's got a flashy game and he's putting up good numbers, but not on a crap team. I'm cool with that, right? But MVP goes to the most valuable player for their team.
I feel like 2 weeks ago that might have been a true for me. I think maybe it was a bit close, but I think Bryce has really separated, you know, himself away from Kendrick and the team success, as you mentioned.
The last couple of games, you can tell Kendrick's been playing for himself a little bit as well, right?
A little bit. He hasn't sort of looked as good a fit there. So, it's a false to me for that one. So, all right. This one I thought was an interesting one. So, Memphis' second-round draft pick, Jalen Wells, has emerged as a leading contender for Rookie of the Year.
Ooh, okay.
True or false?
False. I will say false. Just false. And I'll tell you why, right?
It's not a bad one, this one, though, right?
No, he's good, man. My guy's Stephon Castle, right? 11.7 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, 3.6 assists. And Jalen Wells, also 11.7 points per game, 3.2 rebounds, 1.7 assists. So almost very similar stats. Yeah. I guess Wells' duty guarding other teams' most like potent scorers.
Great.
That's something he's really good at. And I really like Coach Taylor Jenkins. You know, I've got a little quote for you as well. I did a bit of work today, right?
Yeah.
He said, Coach Taylor Jenkins said about Jalen Wells, he does not get deterred. The rookie wing turns those matchups into offensive tutorials and picking up some moves from those he's guarding. Being able to guard the best player every night has been helpful for my offensive game, Jalen said, especially when we go back to film and watch it. So what it tells me is he's got a coach that puts faith in him. He's also a guy that's willing to learn and is a sponge to take in information. So I would say by now, at the moment, I'd probably have Steph Castle 1, Jalen Wells 2, and Alex Sarr probably 3.
I think Reece Shay's got to be top 3 awards. That guy is starting. His numbers are picking up. His percentages have been a bit down, but he's picking it up a bit now. But I think full credit goes to the Grizzlies organisation for picking someone like Jalen Wells in the second round, and the fact that he's even in consideration. Obviously, it's an extremely open Rookie of the Year race, maybe the more open ones we've ever seen there. But he's certainly going to be an all-rookie team contender, I would have thought. But we'll see how he goes. He could end up being the Rookie of the Year. You never know. Nice. All right, this one's a bit of a controversial team, very controversial question, very popular team, but Golden State will miss out on the playoffs and the play-in tournament this season.
Play-in, man. I think play-in, you're looking at Golden State, San Antonio, maybe even Portland fighting for that 10th spot, right?
Well, Spurs on that one. Jeez.
Yeah, because I think Sacramento is going to fall out of that race now. Dallas
true or false? What do you got?
I'm going to go true. They're not going to make it.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think San Antonio will just get that 10th seed and they'll just miss
Spurs,
out.
I could see Sacramento getting over them. The 2 LA teams. Yeah, I don't think they're going to make it this
Unless
year.
Something happens at the deadline and they somehow get Kevin Durant coming back to Golden State.
Maybe, right? That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? So, wouldn't that be a shock to see them completely miss out there? And the last one, Woods, I'm feeling, I'm definitely saying a true for this last one, but Boston will be back-to-back champs this season.
True.
Yeah. Who are you taking, Boston or the whole rest of the NBA? I feel like I'd almost prefer Boston. Like, I feel like they're just such a complete team defensively, such a good shooting team. They've got depth. I can't see another, team in the East challenging them. The West is a bit more wide open. Could OKC fire up? Could, a team like Dallas that we mentioned with all their size.
Dallas. If that would be incredible if what you said actually happened, but I can't see it. I can't see it. They'll be competitive. They'll be a great team, right?
Yeah.
With AD, but I'm Boston. Yep.
Nice. All right, so true to both of us on that one. So, all right, I appreciate that one, Wood. So, as I mentioned, we've gone a little bit long. We'll give classic packs a miss. Woody's got some fresh packs. So we'll definitely get back into that in the coming weeks. So we'll just go to a quick outro now. As I mentioned at the start of the show, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Leave a rating, leave a nice positive comment there. That would definitely help us there. And just a reminder, we can be followed on X at Throwback Hoops. Woods will be posting these nice jerseys and probably a bit of Mark Williams in the coming days there. Instagram, throwback.hoops, and our email address, throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Patreon, if you want to pledge a couple of dollars there to help us with some of the production costs, we'd really appreciate that. Quickly, Woods, we really enjoyed last week's show with Mason Bragg, didn't we? We've had a lot of good feedback. That was a fun one, wasn't it?
It was really fun. And just to hear some of the stories from him and, how his journey from, those early years in Tasmania to where he is today was awesome. So I'd suggest anyone who hasn't, please go back and listen to episode number 153, right?
Absolutely. And next week, we've got another special guest. So, look, we won't tease it too much. We've got a guy lined up who we've been wanting to have on for a while. So someone that's, let's just say, someone that's been at this game and doing this way, way longer than we have, and someone we both respect and we're looking forward to have a chat with.
Absolutely.
So, please stay tuned next week. Any final thoughts, Woods? It's been a crazy last few days in basketball. It's been fun kicking it with you today, but any final thoughts before we wrap up?
What I said about the player empowerment era coming to an end, listen to that. Because we're in a place now where players are no longer going to be able to dictate where they want to go, who they want to play with. That's coming to an end, and this is signifying the start of a sea change. Yeah,
well said. Will you be back with your glasses next week, or is this a one-off?
No, I've got them for the rest of my life now, bro.
Looking forward for your smart takes of these glasses. It's been great having it. You on with those words. Love going to that Kings Wildcats game. Go the Cats. Get out and support this last round in the NBL. WNBL as well, Woods. I know we haven't had as much chance to talk about some of that, but there's the playoffs are sort of coming up fast and that. So get out and support that. And one final word. I gave you something before.
If we have a third or fourth game, obviously it's going to be likely Perth home game, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to the pub or one of our each other's houses and watch that game. That'll
Come
be
over
fun.
to mine. Come over to mine. Got a big screen.
Yep, for sure. Yep.
Appreciate it, Woods. Well, really appreciate everyone tuning in. Thanks for everyone's support. Peace out from Throwback Hoops.
Peace out, everyone.